Hello, welcome to this edition of Ring Takes, episode 31. Of course, I'm joined by Brian and Lewis. Of course, thank you guys for joining me as always. Um, let's get into it. Of course, this is episode 31. We're going to be talking about the final send off for Bray Wyatt, the tributes that happened this weekend. All in recap with a whole bunch of controversy to talk about there and talk about the show. And then we're going to get into our WWE payback predictions. But first, let's start off with Bray Wyatt. Um, Tributes around wrestling this weekend. Of course, we did our Raw show last week, just talking about the memories that we had of him, the pouring out of, of memories of Bray Wyatt. What do you guys think about the tribute shows that went on, and of course the little tributes at AEW and stuff like that? Especially with the House of Black, I like what they did when they came in, but we'll get into that. But what do you guys think about the tribute shows and the overall showing of love for Bray Wyatt around the wrestling universe?
Well, I will say that tribute video that they showed at the very beginning was probably one of the most somber, sad tributes I've ever seen. I mean sad in the sense that when you see all the backstage photos, like the fact that the hug that he gave to the Undertaker after their WrestleMania 31 match, and all these backstage moments that you never really get a good chance to see with a character like his and how creative he was. It definitely showed the amount of love that the company has for him, and then the outpouring of support that he received on Twitter from various companies definitely shows that. Throughout the show, when they had the QR code up and they were like kind of like breaking down every aspect of his
That was cool. That
career.
was cool.
Yeah, starting from the original Wyatt family all the way to the very end. I definitely love those highlights. I really do love the fact that they kind of took the person who he had his last match with, who's their arguably their hardest star right now, and put him in the main event as a result. I definitely love that creativity, and I love LA Knight's promo, kind of trying to kind of flip the story in a sense, because he was the heel in that story. I still remember when before the Royal Rumble, the last Raw before the Smackdown before the Royal Rumble, where he came out imitating Bray Wyatt, who had the Wyatt outfit on, walking just like him and such.
Mhm.
So I definitely love the promo that he cut, and using Bray Wyatt's catchphrases to kind of I guess respond
Tie
to
in.
the respond to
Mhm.
the Miz. I know we'll get into that match, Daniel. Miz is one of your favorite opponents of all time. But we'll get into that. But as far as the tribute goes, it was a great show. I love how they coupled that along with Terry Funk, with Cody's promo about Terry as well. So
Mhm.
it was definitely like I said, it was a very somber tribute. And one thing I could take away from it is I love how, like, professional wrestling as a whole is like a community. As far as us as fans go, them as superstars, people who've grown up in the wrestling business. And I say that from the sense of, soon when Bray Wyatt passed away, I mean, you had like people from other companies like the NWA, AEW, companies he never worked for, but they all came together, and they gave him a tribute and gave condolences to his family. It really shows, like, the how strong the community is within professional wrestling. Has its negative
Mhm.
points, which we'll get into later, but for the most part, as everybody coming together when one of your fellow wrestlers passes away, it's definitely something that you want to see. So from that standpoint, I kind of, like I said, trying to get over. I'm still trying to process the fact that Bray Wyatt is no longer with us, but definitely love the outpouring of love through the tributes that we saw.
Mhm. Absolutely.
Yeah. Definitely piggybacking off of that, it's, you know, great outpour and support for somebody who, you know, created such an various versions of an iconic character, and to see and hear some of these stories, and um, just like, obviously we only know the character that we see on TV, but actually
Mhm.
getting to know more of who the person was and what he was about, and how he was someone that would take the time to teach somebody, if they were new, or even somebody who might even be a veteran and hasn't done something. I think the Becky
Mhm.
story was pretty cool. Like, teaching her how to actually like pull out a table, which obviously isn't normal that you see too many women pulling out tables.
Yeah.
Her just saying like, he took like he was busy getting ready for a match and he still took the time to like give me all the tips and tricks on how to do something. And
Mhm.
I love seeing those type of things. I sent something earlier in the chat where it was just like, I remember when Eddie passed, and
Yep.
that one
Mhm.
hurt. That one hurt me a lot. This one,
Mhm.
I mean, it hurt too because Bray was definitely one of my favorite um, modern day wrestlers, but Eddie was a big hit, and I feel like, and I think that what I said was like, and this generation hasn't had like an act like, yeah, obviously there's wrestlers that have passed, but an active
Mhm.
wrestler hasn't passed in a long time. And you know to see everybody come together and be like, hurt, and you know and just coming together and being like, wow, like this person like did so much for us, made us feel certain ways, and just
Mhm.
gave their body and and everything to this business. And all we can do is be grateful and thankful for that. And I thought the video packages were great. Like Brian
Mhm.
said, the
Mhm.
stuff with the Undertaker. I always felt that was kind of like a passing of the torch when we saw that whole little like, hey, it's like it's your turn, kid, or whatever. So,
Mhm. Mhm.
um,
When he whispered to him,
we've talked about how we always kind of felt like that mystique of like an Undertaker esque character was right there with Bray.
Mhm.
I don't want to dive back into all that stuff, but definitely, just great to see like who he was, and definitely grateful to have seen him perform. And it's a sad time, but all we can do is celebrate his life.
Mhm. Yeah, well said, guys. Just piggybacking off what you guys are saying, basically, I'll start with what Lewis said with the Eddie Guerrero passing. That was kind of like our first wrestler that we knew, like passing in that manner, like British Bulldog, Owen Hart. Those we felt, of course, but that was a little bit before our time when they passed away. Um, Eddie was that first guy that we really knew, like, hey, like this is our guy. We've seen different iterations of him, and now we got to see the whole freshness of Bray Wyatt and what he brought to the table, and the overwhelming support showing for him and his family. And as you guys said, the behind the scenes stuff where you see who he was as a person, get a little insight to who he really was, and um, all the tributes, of course, and of course the video packages. I can't speak enough. WWE, however they do it, however fast they do it, however they pull it together in like a short amount of time, they were able to do so, and they were able to put together a story that makes you feel ties to the person well beyond wrestling and stuff like that. So
Mhm.
there's always a personal touch with those type of stories there. And then just to go to the tributes there with the Street Profits coming out and saying he's got the whole world in his hands, the camera. Um, LA Knight saying you better run in his promo to the Miz, like all those little things like there just added a little bit personal touch, and everybody. And as LA Knight said, he was like, "We're not. I'm not going to sit here and act like we were the best of friends or anything like that." But basically saying like he's one of us. Like he's a wrestler. He's a professional wrestler. He comes out here every night for years, puts his body on the line and stuff of that nature. And he's like, he's one of us, and we're gonna miss him head to toe. I love the House of Black coming out and all in with the lantern and putting it down in solidarity for Bray Wyatt. So it's just like you just think about the arm patches from everybody.
Mhm.
Bray, I think somebody else had Brody on their arm as well. And you think
Yeah, that
about
was
those ties again as
yeah, that was
well.
Dax. Yeah,
Yeah, Dax Harwood. So
yeah.
it's just dope to see the emotional support and how many people Bray Wyatt touched. All the people that it's like a 6 degrees of separation. Like you got people in different promotions paying tributes and stuff like that. So it's just awesome to see that and kind of putting a bow on it. Not necessarily like a goodbye forever, but it's kind of like we acknowledge this person as who he was as a wrestler, as a man, as a family man, father, and just so much more to the wrestling community. So that was awesome to see, man. That was definitely awesome to see. No question about it. Um, but we can get into our next part of everything here. AEW All In recap here.